I'm so excited to have such a star-studded lineup for this inaugural virtual restaurant roundtable. These operators and restaurateurs are at the forefront of tipping culture, as I mentioned, and they each have their very own unique perspective of what it means to properly compensate staff. And typically with panels, I like to have the panelists introduce themselves because I don't think I can really give it justice. So if y'all wouldn't mind coming off mute and telling us a little bit about you and your role and your background, we can start with Ksenia, putting you in the hot seat.
Thanks, Corinne. Hi, my name is Ksenia Adams, and I'm a tech lead for human capital systems at Union Square Hospitality. I've been with the company for almost 9 years. Throughout the years, wore a few different hats, which allowed me to work with almost all of our businesses. And I started as a dining room manager at Myalino. I am a certified HR professional, so I was on HR team for the last, I want to say, 3 to 5 years. And in my current role, I oversee all people systems, 7 Shifts being one of them. So very excited to be here today. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Let's go over to Gavin.
Thank you. Yeah, my name is Gavin Kaysen. I'm the chef and founder of Soigné Hospitality in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I have a couple of restaurants here, Spoon and Stable, Demi, Bakery, and Mara, which is in the Four Seasons. Just opened about 5 months. So I'm trying to remember, I had a third child at 5 months old, and I had the baby the same week we opened the restaurant, so I guess I should never forget it. We have had Spoon and Stable for 8 years. I moved here from New York City. I was previously the chef at Cafe Bleu in New York with Danielle.
Awesome. Am I the only person who hears Gavin a little in and out with the echo?
No, I was feeling the same way. It was kind of cutting in and out for the audio.
We'll see if it fixes itself, but if not, we might have to do some live troubleshooting. Hey, you want to do an intro?
Yeah. Hi, my name is Jihei. I'm the chef at Miss Kim Korean Restaurant in Ann Arbor, Michigan. We're part of Zingerman's community of businesses. I think the hospitality group itself has been in business for 40 years, but my restaurant has been in business for 6 years, and we've never taken tip credit since we opened. So we can talk about that when we get to it.
Awesome. Kelly, over to you.
Hi, my name is Kelly Phillips. I'm co-founder of Destination Unknown Restaurants. We have 3 restaurants in the DC area. We have Ghost Burger, which is our fast fancy concept. We have Destino, which is a high-end Mexican restaurant. And we have Las Gemelas, which is a modern taco. I really love food and hospitality, and that's why I got into the restaurant business. But lately, my focus has definitely been people and making sure that we have an equitable work environment and that we're constantly looking at the future, how restaurants can run and be better for the people that work in them.
Amazing. And wrapping us all up, Jordan.
Hey, everyone. Great to be here and meet everyone as well. I'm the CEO at 7 Shifts. So for those that don't know, 7 Shifts is a team management platform with a core focus that was kind of built around scheduling and communication at its roots, really born out of an idea of when I was working for my dad at some QSR restaurants he was running. And my grandparents also ran restaurants. So grew up working in them, passionate problem solver, and became very passionate about solving those problems specifically in the restaurant industry. And now 7 Shifts is used by 1 in 15 restaurant workers in the US, over 35,000 restaurants. And we get to chat with amazingly smart folks and build great products that help them as it relates to just daily team related things around just schedule management, engagement, culture, and compliance as well, which is a growing topic and concern for many operators around the country. So very excited to be here.
Awesome. I love it. Well, as mentioned, all of our panelists come from pretty diverse backgrounds and have pretty diverse opinions on the concept of tipping. Starting with Kelly, I was doing a little bit of research into Destination Unknown Restaurants, and aside from pinning every single concept on my Google Maps, I discovered that you were recently named one of Washington Business Journal's 40 under 40. Congratulations. Your restaurants also eliminated tipping in 2020 and instead opt for salary and customer service fee. I found a picture of President Biden giving Las Gemelas the first restaurant revitalization fund, which is really neat. All that to say, in your restaurants, how do you keep staff incentivized to be top performers without the addition of tips? I understand that y'all have a pretty unique bonus structure.
Yeah, so I think you have to start with the assumption that servers, bartenders, people in restaurants, they want to be good at their jobs, right? They want to be here. They don't want to give bad service. You have to hire happy people that want to be there. Any other industry, you're there to do your job. There's not an incentive necessarily besides, some jobs have bonuses. But I think it starts with hiring. So hire happy people. And then, yes, we incentivize people. So we do monthly bonuses for great reviews and, having a review, like a score that you hold each month. And so that really works for us. Honestly, that's more like a point of pride for them. It's not a huge amount of money. It matters to them. It makes them proud. They want to give good service. They want to be good at their jobs. And to me, that's just more for bragging rights for them. They certainly hit their bonus every month, but it is the type of standard that they have set. It's just like any other industry, I think. You want to hire people that want to do a good job.
I wonder if there's some geographical weight that being in the Washington, D.C. area holds when it comes to either work ethic or people taking pride in what they do. Super interesting. The next question that I had was for Gavin, who has been in the restaurant industry since he was 24. So what, 2 years? Just kidding.
Yeah, about that.
And then you have a soon to be published cookbook that you just wrapped up for. So you've spent many, many years in the back of house. I'm curious to hear from you. How has the concept of tipping changed over your years in the industry, or your perception of it even?
Before I go, is the sound still off?
I think you're good.
Okay, great. I've been in this business since I was 24, which is actually longer than 2 years. Being in the kitchen the whole time and being in the back of the house gave me a great amount of respect for what it meant to be like in the front of the house. And so I spent a lot of time studying and trying to understand what it meant to be a server, what it meant to be a manager, and really how to connect with the guest. When I understood that tipping was a major part of that, it inspired me to do more research to understand how to be better on what that looks like. Does it sound still okay?
It's not as bad as it was before, so you're good. Yep.
So as we opened our restaurants here in Minneapolis, I could see that there was a difference between what we were doing in our restaurant, what other restaurants were doing. And as we started to take tipping away and replace it with a hospitality charge, what we have now and have had for many years, we've seen retention. We've seen happy people, which Kelly was talking about. And it's amazing what happens when you give people that incentive to stay happy. And that's not just for the dining room. All of our restaurants are built with the mind of an open kitchen. So our team can also see in the kitchen what the guests are feeling. Because I can go to the dining room and I can talk to the guests every night and I can see their smiles. I love it. But I also want the garde cook to see their smiles. And I want them to understand that the salad or the bison tartare or the hamachi that they've worked so hard to make for that guest is valued and that their job is valued. And so that's been really important. And all of that is part of the ethos of hospitality. The word restaurant comes from the word restoration, to be restored. And in order to really restore who we are and what we want, we have to be able to give that to others.
Thank you for sharing, Gavin. That really struck a chord with me, especially in a time where a lot of restaurants are really clinging to technology. We still need to be restorative and be at the heart of restaurants. We'll get into that in a bit because I do have a hot question for Jordan. But before that, I wanted to chat with Jihei and Ksenia. Both of y'all's concepts have had a pivot to tip pooling or to just different tipping strategies. Jihei, do you want to chat through what that has been like?
Absolutely. I have a different background than Chef Gavin because I started not at a hospitality industry and then coming into the restaurant. Tipping is an anomaly. If you look at the rest of the industry, it's a restaurant industry does that. You don't go to Home Depot and go you help me find this painting tape, so I'm gonna make sure that you're making living wage. You don't do that at other industries. So I thought that was sort of odd. And I was building the restaurant, I started working with this nonprofit called Raise. They work for not necessarily elimination of tipping, but elimination of sub-minimum wage and tip credit. So we initially opened the restaurant 6 years ago with no tips at all. And at the time, service charge was very rare. So we also did not have service charge. Everything was built into the menu price. And there was no tip line on the credit card charge. And the staff are on living wage for our county. That proved to be quite challenging. There is a sort of a comfort level with continuing to do what you used to do. As American public, when you go out to dine, tipping is the norm. And then if you are a server, then getting tips at the end of the night or even at the end of the week is a norm. Everybody sort of understand it, even though it's quite complicated if you dig into it a little more. We had a little bit of pushback, and that's after we did a lot of conversations and educations with the staff and the customers. I want to point out, like, part of the challenge was that building everything into the menu price for an Asian restaurant was met with pushback, that an ethnic restaurant needed to be a little cheaper. There was an added challenge because we are a Korean restaurant. After a while, we started hearing from the guests that they understand that we pay living wage benefits. They understand that the staff were not taking tip credit, but they still want to be able to leave a little tip. So much already has been published for the origin of tipping being rooted in slavery or the remnants of slavery. So I was against it philosophically, but when I talked to the staff, they were all for it if it allowed them to take a few more dollars home. And I thought, I shouldn't be the one standing in front of people taking more money home. So we didn't switch to tip credit, but we switched to allowing tips and then having that shared across all the hourly staff. And then we put everything through the payroll so they don't have to do the calculations. And I think that was working a little better, but I also needed to do a lot of research in what state of Michigan allows, because some states do not allow sharing. Some states have tight regulations of who can share and who not share, what you can call service charge and what you can call tips. We considered putting everybody on salary, but the state of Michigan also has regulations on who can be salaried at a restaurant and who cannot be, and what that looks like. So for us, this looked like a decent way to go that allowed us to continue doing what we believe is to be providing equitable workplace and equitable pay by making sure front of the house and the back of the house are on the same page in terms of pay, as well as understanding that both departments are providing guest experience, and then clarity of information on how one gets paid and how the tips are divided. Pandemic was challenging in so many ways, but pandemic was helpful in a way that because we were not doing tip credit and certain amount of wage was guaranteed with the base pay that was way above even regular minimum wage, and because the tipping and how it's shared was really clear and staff understood that, and that gave them a little more stability during the pandemic. During the pandemic, the retention was actually really great. We didn't really have to deal with the great exodus of the staff leaving the industry. We didn't have to deal with that more than before the pandemic. Now, I think just guests, at least in our area in general, are more informed and open to tip sharing or service charge. So far, coming out of the pandemic with the retention and the system that we tried many different ways is working well for us.
And it sounds to me like with Ms. Kim and then also Kelly with Destination Unknown, it's almost a marketing strategy in and of itself. Like, yes, you are really bettering the lives of your employees, but it's also a way to get in front of your community to say, like, hey, we're changing things, come check us out, see how happy our staff is, etc.
That's sort of a happy accident, because I don't actually think of it as bettering the staff's lives. I think of it more as like doing the minimum that any employer can do is provide living wage and an equitable work environment. And we also do a lot of other stuff besides this that the community does understand, that maybe we are a little different than your average tipped restaurant on Main Street.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And I appreciate that correction too. Like, it is the bottom line. It is what restaurants should do. So Ksenia, can you chat a little bit about USHG's like way into tipping and then way out of tipping and that whole journey that I'm sure a lot of us have heard about already?
Yeah, thank you. At Union Square Hospitality Group, the model that we believe activates sustainably profitable businesses is the one that starts by taking care of your people first. And we've heard that from other panelists as well, right? Happy people. And in USHG language, we call it the virtual cycle of enlightened hospitality. So the elimination of tipping in 2015, and I was actually a part of one of the restaurants then, and I remember it as a very exciting experience that we had to go through. So that was one of the tactics we implemented in an effort to further fuel the cycle of enlightened hospitality, and learned a great deal throughout that effort. As we were reopening from COVID, from the pandemic, I wouldn't say we went back to tipping. I would rather say we took a step forward with a slightly different model, and we did implement tipping for our dining room teams, but we kept the back of house revenue share program for our kitchen teams, where regardless of what position you work in the kitchen, you get a certain percentage of revenue earned, which allows for our people to earn consistent and fair wages in addition of the wide array of the benefits that we offer. Our ultimate goal is for the tips to be split between everyone so that both kitchen and dining room team members can benefit when someone has a really great experience in the restaurant, right? And so this will obviously require a big shift in public, and we need to persuade state and federal lawmakers to make that change happen. But this is something that would be really great, because I don't think the tips is the problem. I think it's the way they're being distributed.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for sharing. Last but not least, I know, Jordan, we went back and forth on whether or not you could be a panelist, because being a restaurant operator looks a lot different than being someone who is the CEO of a restaurant technology. But I think that your experience chatting with restaurateurs day in and day out actually gives you a really great look into all the different strategies, all the different themes. And I'm wondering if there's anything that you can share with us today about like what's really sticking out in these conversations with restaurants about tipping and compensation.
Yeah, I think it's very similar to what everyone has just said here, which is that there is kind of a shift that we're seeing within our base of restaurateurs and operators that we work with. There are kind of these different segments of, hey, this is so bad, it's so hard, it's tough. And granted, the industry is, obviously very challenging, and there's a lot of amazingly smart and hardworking people, but there's these folks that are adapting and looking for new ways to get out of those situations. There are folks that are just kind of stuck and just not doing a whole lot about it. So we try and focus on the folks that are doing really great things, and then try and share those stories in hopes that we can raise the water for everyone. And some of the stories that we've seen that we're gravitating to is, even just kind of looking back on the survey we did with our 4,000 workers around why they left their jobs. This was like a survey we just did in the past year, which was number one reason was pay. The second one was lack of flexibility in terms of just when they can work. And the third one, if you were under the age of 25, is going back to school. And if you're over 25, it was lack of career growth or praise for managers and understanding like the training side of things and how you can be better, and whether it's at a position in the restaurant, it was typically the case. So I think that a lot of these folks are taking those very seriously. So if pay was a big thing, they're doing things about that. At Bar Taco, I always like to share the story of Scott, the CEO there, where the pandemic hit. Unfortunately, they couldn't have servers, but what he did was implement some very lightweight technology, right? Pay at the table, but took all that savings and pooled it to the back of house. And so he was quoted for saying, if you want a job as a dishwasher for $45,000 a year, you can make that here at Bar Taco as a dishwasher. Stories like that, people are like scratching their heads. They're like, how is that possible? And with talking with some of these people, they just find ways to make it possible. And so I think it really has to do with how much you care to address the things that are challenging. And a big part of that is listening to your staff and getting that feedback. Because why are people leaving? We did an exit interview. It's like 90% of the industry does not do exit interviews. They have no idea why people are leaving. Or also understanding what makes your people tick. Like, why are they here? Are they seeing this as a 6-month journey, or do they want to do something more long-term? Do they want to become a chef and train under someone really great? And I think that understanding that shows that you care. It also gives you better predictability around your business. So I would say there's a multitude of things that we're seeing, but at the core level, it's like you care enough to understand, and then how you understand, and then what you do with that information to kind of make it a reality.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot that can be done in terms of like skills training or education in order for people to realize that like working at a restaurant is not something that is just a flash in the pan. It's something that can be really fruitful as a career that will help with employee retention as well.